Hey, 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 good evening. Happy Wednesday to you. This is your girl, Dr. O. Super excited to be here on today. This is Community Conversations with your girl, Dr. O. So I am going to give you an opportunity to join. You know, our flyer reads 8 o'clock, but we announced on last week that we was changing our time to 8:30. And maybe by next week, I will have a new flyer once I send it over to my graphics team. So I'm going to give you, again, time to join. I do have some topics of interest that we're going to talk about on tonight. So just come on in. We're not going to be on here very long. So we do want you to come on in. And I want to start off by saying this. Too many times we hear where individuals feel that they don't know what's going on in the community. So this is one of the driving forces of Community Conversations with Dr. O, Dr. Onika, Coach O, or just Onika, whatever you want to call me, it don't matter. But a lot of times people say they don't know what's going on, but even when there are efforts made to make individuals aware, we take no initiatives to hear that information, to be a part of that information, to become aware of that information. And so if we're going to have community conversation, you got to show up. You must show up. And so often things are happening in our community that does impact us. They impact our families. They're impacting our businesses. They're impacting our community overall. But a lot of times people will feel like it don't have anything to do with me. It has everything to do with us. And so one thing that I ask is for you to show up. For you to show up here on Wednesday, 8:30. I'm going to do my best to be here, but for you to show up and support. And if you want to know what's going on, bring, and as I asked, and I'm going to try not to get so excited, because sometimes I get excited. I get to talking fast. I get to talking loud. So I'm going to try to compose myself. I'm going to try to contain myself. But just know that if I get excited, if I'm talking fast and loud, I'm just excited, passionate about what I'm talking about. And that's just my personality, okay? I'm not the person that's whispering everything. I'm not the person that's really light when I'm talking. That's just not my personality. So, hey, Kim, thank you so much for joining. If you could, we have people, I'm sure, that's going to tune in, probably from all across the globe, because I talk to individuals that's globally. They may not be personally impacted by what is going on in our community, but they're concerned because people in our communities are a part of their communities, whether it's online or whatever. So I just wanted to say that. But we have to show up. We have to show up. We have to show up, and I'm looking on, we have to show up. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Hello. Thank you all so much for joining. Thank you. And again, Community Conversations with Dr. O, some of it is going to be exciting. Some of it is not going to be exciting. Some of it be interesting. Some of it is going to be just information. Thank you for tuning in from the Philippines. Thank you so much for joining. So tonight's conversation, we're going to talk about a few things. One thing that I do want to talk about, our water boil has been lifted, right? Our water boil has been lifted. Hello, Brother James. Hello, Sister Mary. Thank you all so much for tuning in. So we want to make sure that we're getting connected. And then if you see something, if you hear something, if you know something, we got to get to this point that we say something, that we are willing to say something. It is time out, and the days are long gone for us to feel like it don't have anything to do with me, because it has a lot to do with you. It has a lot to do with you. It has a lot to do with your families. It has a lot to do with our children. There is a lot to be done. There's a lot to be done. Now, James, if you're going to be a distraction and if you're going to ask me, please look at the topic of this conversation. This is not about stars. I thank you for being here. But if you're going to be a distraction, please leave. Okay. Good evening, Carly. Thank you so much for joining. And I'm not trying to be funny. I'm just being honest. This is not for fun and games. Okay. But let's be real. Let's be real on, on the things that we're doing. But our water boil has been lifted. We are no longer required to boil our water. We're no longer required to boil our water. So for those people that that may not know, now I know today there was distributions at the old police department for water. I think they did water at 3, and then there was distribution for water at Greater Powerhouse today at 5:30. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining. So there was distributions, 2 locations on today. But the water boil has been lifted. I know a lot of people has been concerned about their water bills and the lack of usage of water and all these different sorts of things. But let us talk about, some of the issues and the things that we have, the things that has been brought to my attention. So tonight we're going to talk about a couple of things. And one thing that we wanted to talk about to make everyone aware that may not be on social media, that may not have seen it on the news this morning. I saw it on the news on Fox 13, that the water boil is now lifted, that you no longer have to boil your water. You no longer have to boil your water. And I know everybody is excited to hear that. I know that is good news for us because it's been a minute. It's been a minute. But we want to make sure that you get all the sediments out of your water, and just make sure that, flush out your faucets, because sometimes you may have a lot of things that will come through your system. And so you want to just make sure that you have ran enough through, that you're getting good, clean water. We want to say thank you for all of those that put in the hard work. We want to thank all of those that did water distribution. We want to thank all of the locations that even that sponsored. I call it sponsored. Those individuals. We want to thank them because it's been hot. It's been hot. It'd be hot when they're loading up the vehicles. And we do want to say thank you. We appreciate all of the volunteers. We appreciate everyone that played a part, those that donated water to us in our time of need. We want to say thank you. Greatly, greatly appreciated. It was not our ideal circumstance, but we had to deal with what we had to deal with what we had to deal with. And that's just what it was about. We have to deal with what we had to deal with. Thank you so much, Kim. Please do. Please get this out. Get this out. Get this out. Please. And so we know that another thing that has been concerning to many individuals, I know if you're here locally, that people has been out. They have a petition that is being asked to be signed. This is what I want to say about the petition. I don't have anything to say particularly about the petition. The petition is what it is. It is what it is. But what I will tell people is, before you go and sign anything, not just the petition, I don't care what it is, don't just put your name on something when you have no detail. Now, when I walked in the store, I was approached very vaguely, really with no details. It's just like, hey, do you want a new water system? That was not enough detail for me to put my name on anything. And I know a new water system was probably meaning new administration, new people. And so I am not signing anything where I have not been given details of what I am signing. They've always said, if you don't want people that look like me, if you don't want brown, and if you don't want black and brown people to know something, to write it down. And we're quick to put our name in places that our name don't need to be. We're quick to sign stuff without reading. We're quick to allow others to guide what we will or will not do. So if there is a petition particularly for water, which I haven't seen, but I know what I feel like I know what that petition was for. But I seen people signing it, had no idea what they were signing. that kind of gets to the same thing where where individuals voted for, for the jail that didn't know all the details and didn't know who all was going to be housed and didn't know how it was going to be, all these things that if we talk fast and we talk fast and we're in a hurry. So when we are talking fast and we're pressured as if we're in a hurry, it's all this has to be done right now. This is what I like to say. You cannot educate and execute. We're not going to play with these mosquitoes tonight, but you cannot educate and execute at the same time. We need educational sessions for our community when there's not a need for something from us, where you want to just educate us. I don't care whether it's the breakdown of the water bill. I don't care if you want to know how the trash run. We need to have those conversations, some town hall meetings or some community conversations outside of issues if we want to truly educate community members, the citizens. If we want to educate, we cannot educate and execute at the same time, because it just feels like a forceful thing where you're trying to tell me something and you're trying to get me to do something at the same time. We can't educate and execute at the same time. Those need to be separate. It needs to be a separate thing. And the reason I mentioned the water bill is because I seen, kind of the detail of, how one's water bill work and that it is a metered activity. And I thought that was great information. But I think that type of information could also be shared at a time that when people are not having questions about a current bill in the midst of a current problem. You feel me? Where y'all at? Where y'all at? Are you here? Are you here with me? Do you understand that I think it's important for us to educate about things that are concerning our community apart from issues? When issues come, it can feel like you're forcing me to do something because you need me to do something, or you're giving me information in some type of way where you're not really, responding, where you're not really interacting, where you're not really providing the information that is needed. So community conversations is necessary. So that is one reason, that's the driver for this platform, where we can talk about things that is pertinent, where we can be informed about things and we can share our things. And I promise you, my objective, my motive is not to be negative, but it is to be the bridge in between the citizens and the city. It's to fill the gap. It is to fill the gap. But it's important because it's going to require your participation. It's time out. The days are over and gone for us. Behind the scene, we talk about everything that we have a problem with, but no one wants to come to the forefront and really voice their opinion. No one really want to come to the forefront. And yes, we can listen at the city council meeting online. And yes, city council meetings are open. And that is a great place for us to start if we want to know what's going on with the city. But it is out in time for the days to end where we still pointing fingers across the table and we're not getting anything accomplished. Yeah, we're pointing fingers. We're pointing fingers across the table, community pointing fingers at the city council. And you just hear, the city council and the mayor and these things. And it's just, we're constantly bashing both of these entities. But where are the solutions to the problems? And then if you're not, you hear so many people say, well, there's no point of me saying anything. It's not going to do any good. You're saying something, but it's negative. You're saying something, but it's about somebody. You're saying something and it's about what somebody else is not doing. So if you haven't did everything that you can do, We got to stop complaining about what's being done. We have to do everything. Now, we know we can't go in and make decisions because we're not part of the city council. We're not the mayor. We're not this person. But we can get on their agenda when we have something that we want to talk about. We can ask to be on the agenda. We can go in and listen and have an understanding. But sometimes we're getting second, third, fourth, and fifth hand information. And you know, you've played the game before. You start with a conversation. By the time it gets to the last person, it's either so far off from where it started, or it has been added to, it's been taken away, and the meaning of it from the very beginning to the end is not the same. So it's not good always to get information, because a lot of times we don't get nothing right. We can't repeat anything. We don't remember anything, and therefore we don't share the right information. So if we want to be informed, we got to be involved. I said if we WE, that includes me and you. If we want to be informed, we must be involved. So again, that's our topic for our water. We want to talk about also, we want to, kind of just address a little bit the crime, the gun violence, and I know, some people may feel like we're all good, but do you know one crime is one too many? One life lost is one too many. One family hurting is one too many. So we can't, until we get to a point that we're not having none and we're not impacted by nothing and it's at zero. Now, do we know that it's going to take work, and do we think that it's possible? But that's where it starts. If we don't never think it's possible for us to stop gun violence, and if we don't never think it's possible for us to get drugs off the street, and if we don't think it's possible for all these things to happen, you know what? They won't. They won't. They won't happen. They won't happen for us as individuals. They won't happen for us as a community. They will not happen. They would not happen if we don't believe that they could happen. They would not happen if we don't have a plan of execution to make them happen. We must do something. But what we can't do, we cannot continue to sit back with our mouth closed, sitting on our hands and thinking that it's somebody else's job to do something about it. If everybody had a legitimate concern about a correction that is contributing to a failing and fallen community, if we came with our best stuff, our best ideas, our best solutions, and we locked arms together to make that happen, we could have a better place to live. And everybody is not impacted by crime. Everybody, but everybody that have a heart. When you have a heart for people, you may not be impacted personally, but you are impacted. Because it may not have been your family member. It may not have been your friend. It may not have been your son or your daughter. It may not have been your sister, your brother, your mother, your father. But they were somebody. And it impacts us because it may not have been us today, but it could be us tomorrow. Because we have had, there are things that are happening in our world, not just in our community, but in our world where you figure nobody never would have imagined that to happen. Nobody never would have thought that could have happened, but it did. We've had some horrible and horrific things to happen in our community. So my question, as I challenge the community of Helena, West Helena, my question is, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about the guns on the street? What are we going to do about the shootings at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning? What are we going to do about the drugs, the fentanyl? What are we going to do about homeless people walking our street with no place to stay, no place to go, no food? What are we going to do about it as a community? Because, see, we'll pass by them and we'll see them and we'll look at them, and a lot of people talk about them. But the question I am posing to the community, to the citizens of Helena, West Helena, what are we going to do about it? Will we put our money where our mouth is? Will we put our time where our mouth is? Or will we continue to complain at how bad our city is? Will we continue to complain at how bad our community is? When you look at the news and you see the same thing in Memphis, and we make a comparison to say Memphis going through the same thing that we are, what are we going to do as a world to say that if we was to do things and to live life God's way, a lot of the things that we're impacted by, we would not be impacted by, but we're not doing that. You know, you see the emojis of praying hands and everybody is praying for you when something happened, but prayer changes things. We should see change if real prayer was going forth. If real prayer was going forth on the behalf of the things that we're seeing happening, we should see some improvement, because God is hearing our prayers, and we have to pray. We have to pray, and we have to pray. We have to pray in season and out of season. We have to pray when we don't hear gunshots. We have to pray when we hear gunshots. We have to pray early in the morning, all through the day, and late at night. We have to pray. But then we have to connect arms. And we have to open up our ears and our hearts so we can hear where individuals are hurting and be willing to reach out without judgment, not trying to figure out why they are doing what they're doing, not trying to figure out why the families are not helping. Why is it that we can't do something to help people, and then we turn around when they're gone and tell them we'll say for social media's sake how much they're going to be missed? How much they were loved. Did they know they were loved when they was walking the street? Did they know that they were loved when they was having to do the things that they had to do for their basic needs? And I know we can't help everybody. So this is not no bashing against nobody in particular. This is a worldwide thing. And sometimes you try to help people and they will turn your help down. We can't force help on people. But you know what? God don't either. Do you know how many people are suffering from so many things? It's not that God can't do it. But when we don't believe that he can, and we don't have a relationship with him, and we don't talk to him, and we don't go to him, and we don't ask for anything, he said we have not because we ask not. And in Matthew 6:33, it said, but seek ye first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, and everything else will be added unto us. We're not seeking the kingdom. We're not asking for the things that we need to be asking for. We need healing in our land. But he said that if his people that say they know him, people that say they're in relationship with him, people that quote his words, it's time out for just quoting scriptures and nice cliches. It sound good, but we got to be doing good. We got to do as well as we say. And we got to say what we're going to do. And if our community is going to turn around, if we're going to be in this thing together as one, if we're going to lock arms as citizens and city council, the city body, we got to be willing to do things outside of the norm. We got to be willing to step up. We got to be willing to talk about it. We cannot brush issues under the rug and figure, they don't have anything to do with me. We can't brush things up under the rug and figure, if we just hide it, we don't talk about it, it's going to get better. Nothing you don't address is not going to get better. And I'm going to tell you, communication is key. People will understand you better, and they will like you so much more if you communicate. Communication is key. We can't run from the communication. We can't hide from the communication. People need to know what's going on. It's time out for us having to go on scavenger hunts, trying to go on this person's page. And, how was communication being done before we got Facebook? How was communication being done before we got on social media? So what happened to in-person communication where people can understand? Because sometimes people write like they talk and people don't understand what is being said. But these community conversations that we want to have, we want to be better as a community. We want to be better as a whole. We want to be better as a person. We are better together. Iron sharpens iron. We're not trying to point fingers at no administration, no individual council meeting member. We want solutions where our community is safe for everybody. And what people fail to understand, our city council members, they stay in our community. So don't think that they're not impacted by the guns and the shootings and the crimes and the break-ins. They're impacted as well. Our mayor stays in the same city. So when we were boiling water, they were boiling water too. They didn't have special water. I don't believe. I just don't believe that the mayor and the city council members, I don't believe that they had special water that was good and not impacted that was going into the house. Now, if for granted, it depends on where they stayed. But if you stayed in Helena, West Helena, we were under, if you stayed in West Helena, we were under a water board. They were impacted as well. They were impacted. And I know we want to point fingers at the administration and we want to say what they're not doing. This administration has been in office for 7 months. Some of our problems are way older than 7 months. And we want to point fingers on who was better and who can do a better job. And we want to get this person out. But I got a question for the community. If you remove one, who you going to replace them with? And what is it they're going to do different than the last person, the person before, the person before? Because we've had issues for years. It didn't start 7 months ago. It didn't start with Mayor Christopher Franklin. It didn't start with Kevin Smith. Can we be real? We've had issues for years. But what we have to do is we have to stop leaning on the issues that we've had for years and somebody say, this is the way it has been done in the past, but we're going to do something different. I am not going to follow in the same failing footsteps that got us nowhere, that did not grow this community, that did not retain our citizens, that did not increase our economic revenue. We have individuals leaving and not coming. What are we going to do to attract people? But what are we going to do most of all to keep those that we have? Because I pass by houses and places on a daily basis and I see U-Hauls bagged up and they're not moving from one location to another here locally in the city. They getting out of here. And how many more people do we have to lose? And how many more people do we have to see leave before we say a change need to come? A change need to come. This is not the time for us to be quiet and zipping up our mouth and feeling like somebody else is going to fix the problem. We need to talk about the things that are important to you. But nobody will know what's important to you if you're not saying anything. If you feel like what you have to say, it doesn't matter. If you feel like what you have to say is not going to make a difference. If you feel like what you have to say is not going to make an impact. We must not feel like our voice is not heard. My voice is heard. If everybody got on here and did if everybody was on this platform and talked about this community, it will be heard. It will be heard. Thank you so much, sis. Thank you so much. It will be heard. We got to be willing to talk. We got to be willing to talk. We got to get from behind the scene talking to other people that can't make a difference. And one reference I like to make, you cannot talk to people that's in the same boat you in. How we going to get to the other side? We stuck in the same boat. We got to come with new ideas. Therefore, we have to do something different. If we're going to sharpen our tools, we have been hitting trees with dull axes. We have been hitting trees with dull axes. What are you talking about, Coach? What you talking about, Dr. O? We have been hitting trees with dull axes. It's time for us to sharpen our axes. It is time for us to sharpen our skills. It's time for us to change our mindset because our city can be better. We have had members that has worked in this community. We have had members that has retired in this community, and you all have something to offer. We got to get together. Iron sharpens iron. And we have to stop. You know, you can take two dull knives and take one and sharpen the other one. You can take the other one and sharpen the other one. You can take a dull knife and sharpen the other one. We have to sharpen each other. We have to sharpen our skills. We have to know what's going on in our community. We have to know what's going on with our finances. We have to know what's going on with our council members. We have to know. And I'm not talking about their personal life, because their personal life is not our business, because everybody has the right to have a personal life. They have a right to have a personal life. If they're doing whatever they're doing, that's their business. But we want them to handle the business in which we voted for them for, which we hired them for, which we paid them for. We want them to handle their business. What they do on their personal time, that's their business. That's their business. But we got to stop hitting trees with dull axes. We got to stop hitting these issues with dull axes. What are you talking about, dull axes? We're talking about old stuff that's not relevant. We're talking about old people that's not in office. And in order for us to fix today's problems, we're going to have solutions of today. Because see, what they didn't work. We still have a problem. What I would like to see, this is what I would like to see. I would like to see a written preventive maintenance plan for the things in our community. When I'm talking about a written written maintenance plan, you know, where are all our pumps? When was pipes installed? Are they galvanized? Are they Galvalume? What type of pipes do we have? What type of, you know, all of those things. We should have learned something from those 175 leaks. Those 175 leaks that was found over these last couple of weeks, we should have learned something. We should have learned what kind of fittings, what type of piping. We should have learned how deep that. We should have learned all type of things about that. And then we should be able to extract a plan to say that now we don't have to wait until we have a leak to do a change out. See, a lot of times when things are out of sight, they're out of mind. When they're underground, we don't think that they're a problem. It is not a problem till it's a problem. But you can go get a brand new car and they already have a maintenance plan in place. They'll tell you in 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, 12,000 miles, change your oil. They'll tell you to check your fluid. Look at your power steering fluid. You have to sometimes refill your washer fluid. If you're using it, and sometimes it'll dissipate out and you haven't used it. If you're not using it, so you have to check your fluid. It tells you to check your PSI on your tires. You're doing that to prevent a problem. You don't wait till you have a problem to fix a problem. So a lot of times what we're seeing in our community is reactive. We got to get to where we have a plan and we are proactively addressing the things that could potentially be a problem. We addressing them today so they won't be a problem tomorrow. Come on, y'all not going to talk to me today. We're getting ready to get off of here. We've been on here. We're not going to make these meetings long. If you don't provide information, if you don't come here, that lets me know that you're really not concerned with what's going on in this community. Because see, a lot of times, again, we want to see change, but we don't want to be a part of it. We want to see change, but we do not want to be a part of it. Support those that are willing to step out in the forefront. Support those that are willing to be the voice. I am going to be the voice for the citizens. Again, we're going to be here every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. We're going to be here at 8:30 p.m. having community conversations, talking about the things that are pertinent and concerning to us, talking about issues, talking about things that may be coming up, things that may be happening. It's time, Craig, it is time for us to get active as a community. And we don't have to have no title. We don't have to be elected. We don't have to be in no position for us to be involved. We can contribute to our community, and it's called volunteering. It's on a volunteer basis. You may can't be at everything and you may can't do everything, but you can do something. We all can do something. What will you commit to doing? How will you get involved to make sure it's better? Because if you think it should be done, why don't you think that you should be doing something? And I know we feel like we're taxpayers. I know we feel like that, sometimes, you see people, they use a service. They use a service like Spark for Walmart delivery. They use a service like DoorDash. You have some of these people, they feel like that they didn't pay for VIP service. They'll stand there, they'll look at you, they'll let you bring their stuff. They don't give you no tip. They don't help you out. And they just look at you. It's time for us to stop looking. It's time for us to start doing. It is time for us to get involved. It is time for us to stop talking about our community and start talking to community leaders and start talking to our city councilmen and start talking to our mayor to communicate the things that are concerning to us. Once we've done our part, we can't make them make a decision and we can't make them do nothing, but we can say we did what we could do. We all have a voice. Let it be heard. Let it be heard. Let it be heard. Send your ideas, send your solutions, send your problems, send your concerns, send them to me. You can send them here. You can send them via message. You can text. My number is 870-714-1766. 870-714-1766. You can text your issue. You can inbox your issue. I talk to people live. You can call. You can call. But we got to be willing to do something. And if you're not willing to do something, stop talking. Stop talking about what everybody is not doing because you're a part of that. And I'm going to close with this. We're either part of the solution or we are a part of the problem. That's noteworthy of saying it again. We're either part of the solution or we are a part of the problem. So we have to ask ourselves, what is it that we need to do different? How is it that we need to be different? And what is it that we're going to contribute to make a difference? So this has been Community Conversations with Dr. Onika. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for sharing this. Thank you so much for stars. Thank you for your support. But don't allow people outside of our community to be more engaged than people within this community that complain about what happens within this community. We have individuals that has tuned in from the Philippines, way out in California, and different areas around the globe. Don't allow outsiders to be more concerned about our welfare and our well-being than the ones that is impacted and the ones that can make an influence. Again, I'm getting ready to get out of here. This is your girl, Dr. O, Community Conversations. We will be right back here next Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. And I pray that you have a blessed night. I'll talk to you later.